reflects the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
You have to be strong in today's world. Keep your focus and up. What you believe in, how to achieve all your dreams. Keep moving forward. Never accept less than who you are. Live your best life. Be strong and free. It's the hit back with the hash of black. It's the hit back with the hash of black.
By the Cancer Treatment Centers of America, Baha Retreat and Spa, Helena Financial Advisors Limited, and Central Bank.
Good afternoon, Bahamas, and welcome to the Hit Back. I'm your host, Nahaja Black. It is a beautiful day here in the 242. I hope that you are doing well, that you are taking care of yourself, that you are living your best life today. We are, of course, every weekday. Special thanks to the greatest radio station ever, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. And of course, we are streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. So, of course, like, share, all of that good stuff. Feel free always to join in and be a part of the show that way. Also, we got a special guest joining the show. Dr. Duane Sands will be joining us in short form. And so I'm looking forward to that discussion. 1 second, just got to make sure I get him sorted out. And there you go. So here's the question that we have. We have a lot of things going on today. A lot of things going on. Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see everyone who's tuning in live online. Can't wait for everyone to join. And we're back with Facebook. We're back with, what was that? What is the other thing that we were off of yesterday? I can't remember all of the things we were off of yesterday. It was crazy. So it's good to be back. It's good to be back. It's good to see everybody. We got a good show for you today. The reason why it's a good show is because this is one, of course, y'all know Doc is one of my favorite people, right? One of my favorite people. But one of my favorite people also, before he was one of my favorite people, he was just Dr. Duane Sands. And so you're going to get Duane Sands' conversation today, because I got all kinds of questions for Dr. Duane Sands. Tell them don't turn off these social media outlets. Tell Zuckerberg not to get blown out whistleblower protections. We have, something that we have to discuss very soon. I can't wait for it, right? One of the things that we just, all of this talk about digitization, digitizing the Bahamas, digitizing the economy. But we do things before we talk about how to protect the citizenry, right? So we're talking about digitization, but nobody's talking about data privacy laws, right? No one's talking about how do we protect our citizens from all of these new things, right? Because one of the things we do afterwards is consider the repercussions. And then we don't deal with the repercussions because the repercussions tend to favor or may not favor those who have more. It really comes against those who have less. So when we talk even about Instagram, Facebook, one of the things that concerns me is when we have breaches within the banks, our banking system and our data laws, the banks aren't required to tell you that they've been hacked or that their ATM machines or that there's something going on. They're not required because there are no data protections. Your identity, all of your information out there on the ethers, but what are we doing to protect the information that is now being required digitally? If you want your driver's license renewed, if you want your police report, these things are now being stored in servers we know in country. This is just a pet peeve of mine, and not a pet peeve, but a serious issue. This is beyond pet peeve now. But a serious issue is, have you tried to get your police record? Have you tried to get your driver's license online? All good things, by the way. All great moves to get us a little bit more convenient. But there's a lot of information that is being asked for. Like, I still have a problem with how we were forced to switch to a digital provider. If you were with NIB, you were not asked permission if a third party can give you funds. No one asked your permission. You now have to go through an app if you're a senior, but no one asked you if your information was safe with this provider. Your national insurance number is supposed to be a very highly guarded and protected bit of information. We were told when we got these smart cards that they were actually going to be smart and protect us and data taken care of. But there is no data protection in this country, but there's a lot of data that we're being told to give out. But we know that the registrar department with its own servers are hacked, and it's hacked and placed out for public consumption. And why am I bringing this up today? Because some things just irk me, right? Some things have just been bothering me for a while. Someone says, remember when ZNS was hacked and held hostage by ransomware? I thought that was the funniest thing when it did happen, though, because, of course, that means that the hackers had no idea that most of the stuff was already archaic anyway and in the archives. So, and what had probably already destroyed most of the weird. So it was what it is. But we are not a country where the citizenry has protected our data. Something that else that frustrates me, and I can't wait, I'm going to bring on Dr. Sands very shortly. Something that else that is very concerning, that's frustrating to me, is that, and what led to even my thinking on this discussion, was that we have a bank, Royal Bank, of course, recently said that they want to move their ATMs. They're going to be done away with the $20 bill, right? Oh, they've seen that there was not high demand for $20, right? Well, they ain't never had just $42 on their account, obviously. And all you're trying to get is your $40 off the account. They must not have been in that sort of stronghold before. When you just don't have, you got $80, you got $86, you don't have 100, and you just want to get your 80 because you know you can't get the 6. The problem I have with the being done away with, right? And one of the arguments is that they are also moving towards this push towards digitization to get more people, what is the phrasing that they use? Nonetheless, to be paperless, right? We're moving from to a cashless society. I like my cash society. If you know anything about budgeting and saving, cash actually helps you to save more if you are interested in it. There's something very much, they say it's a very psychological. Watching your money leave your hand is more psychological than it affects you more. It slows your spending than if you keep using your card, your debit card. You're not checking the balance, but you know when you got $40 in your wallet or your purse, right? When you got that amount of money in your purse, and you could see when it's only $23. You spend different. But anyone who's used their debit card or their credit card understands that you keep spending, especially if you got an Amazon card, you got your Google Pay going, your Samsung Pay going, your Apple Pay going. You just pay. That's all you're doing is paying. Now, here is where I have my challenge with that, is that to me doesn't take into consideration how many people don't even have much in their savings to begin with. That forces you to leave your money in the bank. God help you if you got less than $50, you fresh out of luck with taking that out. And plus, it is a hassle now to go into the bank and take your money out. But what the banks also know is that the fees are greater than the savings rate. So your $50, your $49 is not coming out unless the next payday and you add to it. And I don't appreciate that. I don't like that because it doesn't take into consideration a lot of people who don't have much. Now there's an unbanked class in society. The unbanked is not because they don't trust the bank. It is because they just don't have sufficient to be in the bank. They don't have that work. And if you really, again, trying to open up a bank account is a hassle unto itself. Unto itself is a hassle. But now you're talking about moving us to be cashless, but there's no talk of data protection. Again, the banks do not have to tell you. We've had a reporter having to go and sue the bank for monies that was taken from her account. Where is the protection? But now we're having banks that are not even wanting to be on island, but now they're saying, okay, we want to force you to not take out your 20, right? But we want to move you to cashless. That's not what I want to move to. I hear you want to move me there, but there are a lot of people. And again, Folks, if you are someone who budgets and you look at your budget, sometimes you take your money out and you set it aside, right? In this day and age, honestly, keeping your money home is very, very risky. The police can't even go and make a deposit without getting shot. So y'all just better stay safe. I'm not advocating keeping your money in your mattress because, things catch fire. Keep your money in the bank, but find different ways to save. Walk into Fidelity and ask them about their mutual funds bonds with better interest rates. But this ain't that show today. This ain't that show. All I'm saying is that we're talking about, cashless, not considering the fact that there are many people who cannot get a bank account for a lot of reasons. Number one being poverty. You're forcing them, if they get a bank account, but they can't get out their 20 bill. You've never been in a situation. I don't mind you, I haven't been in a while, but still, when it runs low, I'd like to know I could get a 20 out. If you only want to spend 20, I should get my 20. Just in how you make an amount on a more. Well, if you're going to push me to cashless and force the entire country to go cashless, right? If that's not what they're forcing, but that's what they're pushing, this stream. That's why everybody wants you to bank at the ATM and do all of these things. Mind you, I don't know why we still trying to bank in the bank, but I figure that's for seniors. I've been banking at the ATM and online for forever, but we digress. That we should have some data protection laws. Moving to this next frontier, get some data protection laws. Protect the people, protect the data, protect us. The registry gets hacked. How many times? I mean, people show about how much information they get from us. We're not being protected. We're not being protected when it comes to data. But all of a sudden now, we're being moved to this cashless society. We're being told to give all the data to the government. My God, dead people are showing up still. Dead people are still in the public service. Dead people have NIB cards. We can't even regulate birth certificates. Forgeries are on the all-time high. And I'm supposed to be able to believe that you can be trusted with more data? You still haven't apologized for forcing folks, hear me, man, for forcing seniors and NIB recipients to a third-party software to receive funds without asking for permission. If my money went to the bank directly from NIB, why does it now have to go through a third party that has fees? Did you ask permission to do that? Who's keeping that data? Who is keeping that data? Do we trust that the data set or the servers are secure? What is the insurance if the data gets leaked? Facebook had almost a half a day down, one of the global leader in social networking. I haven't heard why they were down yet. We definitely don't hear what's going on, right? We don't hear anything about what's going on in country. We fight banks to not take money out of our accounts. God help you if you just go away and forget. Don't let your Grammy pass away and you didn't know she had a bank account, because surely in a short few years, that's going to be called dormant and they're going to own the funds. So I have a big issue and no one talks about the fact that the banks have so many fees that they charge us that they cannot charge anywhere else in the world. But we got to live with it. We got to live with this. And now you're trying to take away the poor people $20? I have a problem with that. I have a serious problem with it. And much less if it's based on the argument that you want the country to go cashless. But no one talks about how am I supposed to trust you as an institution when you don't have to tell me if your ATMs are being hacked. Okay. And you're right, Ken, there will be no money left after the fees. You can imagine not having $50. You have $48 as a single mother, and there's no way you could get that out. But that $40 could feed your children until the next payday. Go inside the bank. Go in the bank. Go in the bank. Carry all your ID. Stand on the line and go in the bank. I don't like it. Someone says, man, small business people need change. It needs to dispense 1, 5, and 10s. No one has time to stand in lines outside to get float. Come on, banks. I'm with you. Right? Patricia said, Facebook said they were down because of some background system upgrades that went wrong. I did notice that there was some sort of fancy upgrade on my WhatsApp. I don't know if that was the reason. No, not fancy upgrade. Some little weird thing about photos lasting only like one viewing, but we digress. We're going to take a break. Someone says they charge you $2 to take your money out of the bank. Okay. And don't try to cash another check somewhere else. Oh, no. Oh, no. All right. I'm with you. Why $50 and $100? That's an assumption that people got all that money. I don't like it. I don't support it. I think RBC is wrong with that. And I bank with RBC and I don't like it. I bank with RBC and I don't like it. Right? And said, how am I supposed to make my tips at the gas station? They need to make it make sense. Thank you. My God, man. Really? Listen, I just don't understand. If you ever had a bank somewhere else, and I know I got to take a break. My guest is waiting. Just to bring this up. I mean, banks would fight. Banks in Canada would fight. Of course, they got credit, right? And that's something that I don't mind. I do not mind. I welcome the credit bureau. There are a lot of perks with having good credit, right? The problem is a lot of us start off with bad credit. And I think if you're going to create this training, this thing here, we haven't been trained. You can't just say, okay, you know what? You got to learn to fly. And I've never even been in a plane. I think putting these stiff penalties on people right away without training and guardrails is the thing. But nonetheless, the credit bureau will be good for us once you're in a good space. There has to be bankruptcy laws that are attached to that. And it shouldn't be where the bankruptcy law is the same amount of time as a dormant account. If the dormant account is 7 years, I want my bankruptcy at 4. Don't swing me. I want 4 years and I can be free. Okay. Anyways, when we come back, we've got Dr. Duane Sands joining us. Let's talk about the Free National Movement, his role in the party, and COVID-19. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. We'll be back right after.
Sugar, let's get sugary. Softer, smoother, and amazing skin. Oh, sugar, we're the sugar ladies. Giving you skin soft as a baby's. Goodbye hair, we'll take good care of you.
Come visit us at Bahar Retreat Spa on East Bay Street. Contact us at 323-6711 or visit us online at www.baharetreat.com.
Wait, you know what's going down tomorrow?
No way, what happening?
Joe bringing these knives to school. He could do Junior in.
For what?
But he fooled with Joe girl.
Mother sick. And you know, John, you don't back down for nothing. So that means you got a big fight tomorrow.
So whose side you want?
Side? I trying to stay in school, not Simpson Pen. We gotta tell somebody about this fight.
Tell somebody. I ain't no snitch. I mean cool, you know.
Wait, if you so cool, then you need to stay in school and stay out of the fight.
Yeah, but if I don't hang on Joe's side, him and these boys coming for me next.
All right, so we definitely gotta tell somebody. We gotta prevent the fight.
What I say, I don't want nobody call me snitch.
We could just call Crime Stoppers. You could report what you know, and nobody gotta know it's you.
So what are the boy?
All you gotta do is call them or you text them through the crack crime Bahamas, and nobody can know it's you.
Then the police come looking for me for more info, and when they finish with them, Joe them coming looking for me.
When you call Crime Stoppers, the calls go directly to Miami, and they don't ask nothing about you. Then if you get the pen from them, and they can claim a reward later using that same pen.
Plus, everything's scrambled, so nobody can read what you said. Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands.
Have you heard about the COVID vaccine raffle? If you are vaccinated against COVID-19, you can enter to win amazing prizes like food store gift certificates, hotel stays, beach excursions, and so much more. Even if you are previously vaccinated, you can still enter to win. The COVID vaccine is free, safe, and protects you from severe COVID-19 infections. Don't delay. Get vaccinated today and enter to win. Visit www.vaccinated.ca EAFBahamas.com to register.
It's the hit back with Natasha Black. It's the hit back with Natasha Black. It's the hit back with Natasha Black. It's the
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Everyone get ready. Where's the TD Jakes? Get ready. I got my good friend joining us. Post his, untimely defeat. That's what. Dr. Duane Sands, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon. I don't know why you want to use euphemisms today. Cut up is a cut up. If you get beat, you get beat.
Well, I mean, hey, I was trying to be the bomb in Gilead. I was trying to be a nice person, but you're right. You get beat, Doc. You ran a race and you lost. How are you? We haven't spoken since then. How are you? How have you been?
Well, I can answer that in a few ways. One, I'm well. I have a day job, so I'm back to my day job, and that is very busy. And we can talk a little bit about that. We continue to work in the community and looking forward to playing a role in the life of this country as a part of the political scene. And I imagine that we probably can talk about that today too.
Oh yeah, we will.
But, it is no question. We took a trouncing, a whooping, a good piece of whoop ass on September. What day was that again? September 16th?
16th.
And I am sure that we got a taste of what the PLP felt like May the 10th, 2017.
Go ahead, sorry.
And, welcome to Bahamian politics.
The ebbs and flows. Let me ask you this. Did you anticipate the sort of defeat? Did you anticipate moving from a 35-4 to a 32-7? Did you anticipate that level of defeat?
Monday morning quarterbacks, they're plentiful. Okay, so I think when you ask honestly, what did you think was going to happen? You have to say, what were the signs on the ground? What were the tea leaves saying? And it was very clear that we were not a popular administration. In particular, we had a very unpopular leader. And there was a tremendous amount of pushback on the ground as we were campaigning. As I was campaigning, people expressing those concerns. And when 40,000 supporters who would have voted F&M in 2017 decided to stay home, that tells you an awful lot. We say anecdotally that when F&Ms are angry, they stay home. When PLPs are angry, they come out and vote anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the numbers, this was perhaps an historic low turnout. And we could discuss all the reasons why, COVID fears, but there was a level of apathy. There's a level of, what difference is it going to make if I vote? And so what we now need to do as an organization is to look critically at why we were defeated at the polls, acknowledge it, claim it, and find out from the voting public, what do you think we ought to have done differently, and embrace some of those things. And if we don't, we will get defeated again and again and again.
Dr. Duane Sands joining us on the show. Doc, after every loss, each party does the same mea culpa. We need to figure out what we did wrong. And then we come back to the Bahamian people. And, we heard the same from the former, the Progressive Liberal Party, and they're now in. But I think there's also a good contingent that says, listen, they're in because, of course, the PLP showed up and they voted for their party. The F&M stayed home. and then there was this middle group that voted for Coalition of Independence, but they're in because of the dislike for the Free National Movement. And of course, I'm sure that there are many will say, well, Brave Davis, their campaign was better, far more mature than the Free National Movement, and we'll get to that. But to me, Dr. Sands, everyone comes back and says, oh, we got to see what we did wrong. Were you in the middle of governance and knew you were on the wrong path? Did you know that the Free National, the governing party, was on the wrong path with the Bahamian people somewhere in that process? And when did you know, Dr. Duane Sands?
Well, we would have known, I would have known from a very long time ago that we had some challenges. And those challenges were real. One of the greatest challenges that the Free National Movement has or developed over the course of its term was an apparent antagonistic relationship with the Fourth Estate, with the press. Now, bear in mind that the press is there as an agent for the people and for the truth. Mm-hmm. We would have promised freedom of information, and we didn't deliver freedom of information. Mm-hmm. We had, at best, a short, very dismissive approach to the press. And I believe that was symbolic or metaphoric of the public's perception of this administration and our view towards them. And when you get whaled from 7 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock at night by every single news station, that's called death by 1,000 cuts. And the bleeding, none of it torrential. You just bleed out. Understand that, when a journalist asks a question, they ain't asking to be antagonistic. They're not asking to be a nuisance. They are asking information for the public. And I think that if I could give one criticism to my colleagues, is that we have to be more embracing of a fundamental tenet of F&Ms, and that is transparency. That no matter what the truth is, tell the truth, be open with it, be effusive with it, and the truth will set you free. No point getting in a battle with somebody that got a gallon of ink. Now, nowadays, most people get their news not from papers, but that metaphor still holds, right? Mm-hmm. If somebody could get on whatever medium that they have and spread story after story after story after story, because you didn't want to take 10 minutes to answer a question, or you have some dismissive commentary, you may not know the answer. But respect the press, respect the persons who represent the Fourth Estate, because they represent the people. And the public felt that we had far too many secrets and that we kept far too much information from them about what we were doing, why we were doing it, even if at the end of the day we were doing it for good reasons. I can tell you I'm not aware of any clandestine deals or whatever. But when things are shrouded in secrecy and people start to make up the stories, okay? So, okay, you ain't gonna tell me, so I can make it up. I can put 2 and 2 together and I can get 5 or 6 and I go in with that. So,
Dr. Duane, sorry, go ahead.
We have to now rebuke our unfortunate relationship with the press and come clean about the fact that we are the party of transparency. And if we do not do that, we will be confined to the scrap heap of history.
Dr. Duane Sands joining us. There was a question that's being asked, Doc. Was there any sort of pushback on this approach by cabinet ministers, by the caucus? Was there a pushback for this style of leadership, this culture of disrespecting the press? I mean, honestly, I think I saw it coming from earlier before you guys won, because I've said it. I said it before the prime minister won. If he doesn't have a need to speak to us before he gets elected, it'll only get worse if he wins. So said, so done. But was there ever a point where you guys pushed back against this?
Sure, but understand that you have very significant examples around the world where this type of contempt for the press played to great effect. We need only look at the North, to North America, and the now deposed, although he doesn't acknowledge it, President of the United States, Donald J. Trump I'm talking about, who vilified the press in an unprecedented way. There's Bolsonaro in the South. There are other leaders who have adopted a similar type of approach, brash, bold, decisive. In reality, perhaps that is boorish. And unfortunately, if you have persons around you who encourage that show of strength, that you're firm, you make a decision and you move on. Bahamians are interesting people, boy. They will hold that in the bosom, okay? They ain't gonna say how they feel, but they can show you. They can show you when they get to the polls exactly how they feel. And we got some warning of this in the final weeks leading up to the election, as people said to us, how they felt about the Free National Movement and the leader of the Free National Movement.
But I heard, this was some things that I heard, Doc, and you can tell me whether this is true or not. And of course, at this point, you weren't a cabinet minister, so I don't know if you were even in those meetings to be privy of them. And I will say probably not, but I'm curious, how did you find out that elections were going to be called?
I guess it was probably the least well-kept secret in the country. We knew that there was going to be an election sometime soon, but didn't know exactly when soon was. And so, we were always getting ready, Paraphernalia showed up. And so, okay, we have special council meetings to pick, and ratify candidates. So obviously something's going to happen. And, the bell rang and you realize, okay, this can be a sprint. This is going to be a sprint. So, give it all you got.
Did you think it was wise? Did you think that the snap election, not wise just even on the face of the defeat, but wise in the face of the response the Bahamian people would have to it? Do you think that it was a wise decision just on the face of it? Was it fair? Was there any pushback even from the caucus when it did happen? Let me get your thoughts on just that decision. What do you thought? What was going on there?
Some people expressed their concerns. Some people supported it. And I think with any democratic organization, you have a mix of thoughts. But at the end of the day, political organizations function almost as military operations. And if the Supreme Commander gives an order, after appropriate internal ventilation and discussion, you move along. And that is probably the way it ought to be.
What should be the way it ought to be? That you just move along, we move with it?
No. That decisions ultimately get made in an organization, even if not everybody in the organization agrees. Okay? So the reason why you pay me the big bucks if I'm the CEO is because I'm going to make a decision that the CFO may not agree with, or the COO may not agree with, or the human resources person may not agree with. And that metaphor, I think, applies to one of the challenges that we have in politics as it is expressed in the Bahamas, in that you can become very insular in your thinking. And so because you are surrounded by a number of persons who are like-minded, the consequences of your decision-making or the potential impact of your decision-making may not be felt or considered. You know, we have a saying, you know, what is the ground saying? And the ground says one thing, but the persons immediately in the upper chamber and so on and so forth may be either unable to hear or unwilling to hear what the ground is saying. And so decisions get made, you know, the rest is history.
But did you know at that point, and some folks are saying you didn't answer the question, when did you find out when the elections are going to get called? Let me ask you that. Clear as day. When did you know?
I found out when elections were going to be called less than 72 hours before elections were called.
Okay, so you had more head start than most of us. Okay. you had more head start than most of us.
You know, but it is what it is. The snap election is a snap election, and you know, the reason why snap elections are called that way without sharing information is because of the fear that somehow, particularly in the Bahamas, information is going to get leaked. I mean, we have leaks at the office of the Prime Minister. We have leaks at every ministry. You know, talking about leaks, if you remember my letter of resignation, a letter of resignation, draft letter of resignation was sent to me. And I was sitting at my computer revising that letter of resignation when it came to me, the draft, from a WhatsApp chat group. How did that leak? My point is that you got to keep some things to your chest. And if you don't keep them to your chest, then whatever benefit you may have from calling that snap election is lost. As it turned out, there was no real benefit because the major political organizations were ready, and they were just waiting for the day and the hour.
Did you think that the snap election, what do you think was the reasoning behind the calling of a snap election? I mean, from everyone else's vantage point, the timing was terrible. There was no way, looking at it, there was no build up, and Doc, maybe you guys saw something different than what we saw. There was no build up where you added some resource into the pool of saying benefits. We did this in the last few months. We did that. In the middle of a surge of COVID-19, deaths were reaming over, hospitals were crowded. What do you think was the reasoning behind, or were you guys told, was there a reasoning behind calling a snap election for September 16th in the middle of a deadly third wave with the Delta variant in play?
I believe that clearly the decision was made on the basis of whatever intelligence or information was being relayed to the person or persons making the decision. And that information would not necessarily be shared with everybody. Clearly, I don't think it was just a random occurrence. I will say that it is unfortunate, given the fact that we had run on a promise for fixed state elections. And so here's a party that had run on a campaign promise for fixed state elections, and our strategy turns out to put in a surprise election or a snap election. And I don't think that was a good look.
Did you know it would hurt you? Do you think that it hurt you on the ground?
I don't think that it necessarily hurt. I doubt, honestly, that there were very many people that were truly undecided by time as an election was called. Like I said, Bahamians have an uncanny ability to hold things in their chests. And, you know, the Bahamian during election time is a different character. Ordinarily, Bahamians are very mild-mannered, very forgiving, very easygoing. Election time, you got a different animal now. What you come for? Okay. Oh, I see you in about 5 years now. You coming to my house? Okay, I see the play, right? And it's a wonderful thing because you understand the power of that constitutional entitlement as a citizen to define who it is that governs you. And, you know, we enjoy a strong democracy. We've had peaceful transitions for hundreds of years, eh?
Dr. Duane Sands joining us. Doc, question here. What force was at play that caused the F&M MPs to go along with their leader, even though they saw things were crumbling?
I think that I would use an analogy to help define it, and that is the analogy of the Republican Party of Trump. And the Free National Movement has emulated that model a bit too much. So if you raise concerns, then people circle the wagon, and the goal is to, you know, shut down the messenger, even without listening to the message. The idea being that, look, this is dirty laundry, you shouldn't be having these discussions, and there's some merit to that. Understand that this is a political organization. But when you have a situation where for COVID, for many different reasons, the executive council cannot meet in person, and you're not comfortable with virtual meetings, and you have a situation where we're now in the realm of the competent authority, so that you now have concentration of power in, depending on how you want to look at it, either one person or a few people. The ordinary checks and balances of government or of the organization kind of go out the window. And I think what we saw was unfettered concentration of decision making without the checks and balances of the ordinary people who caused the Free National Movement to be in power in the first place.
But some would argue, Doc, you know, and it's interesting that you said that, because you said that people started to circle the wagon, that the Free National Movement, the former administration that was governing, ran more like a government, or a government led by Donald Trump, right? And please do forgive me if I'm breaking in and out, internet challenges here, but that it was led more by that sort of type, that style of leadership. was that style of leadership new to the men and women before you came into government? And I mean, Doc, you've been a part of something that says that style of governance was not good to begin with, and you still joined that ship. Were you anticipating that Dr. Minnis would change? Because of course we know what happened with the House and the House of Assembly prior to, under Loretta Butler Turner. So I mean,
let's not conflate the issues here. I think.
But that is based on the style of leadership. Were you all surprised by the style of leadership?
2017, we saw an opportunity unfold, in part because of a view that we had a humble leader that was different than any before. We had a country that was absolutely fatigued, sick and tired of Perry Gladstone Christie, Right Honorable. And the people wanted an absolute change in direction. The people's time resonated with the public. They hoped that things would change. And I believe that the early days of this administration and throughout this administration, there were some incredible things that were accomplished. But the adoption of certain approaches, human approaches, it is said that, people may not remember what you do, but they will absolutely remember how you made them feel. And so as we battled through Hurricane, I think Irma, and I think then Dorian, and then COVID, the technical approach was actually quite good. The problem was the way we, and I deliberately use the word we, were perceived to be dealing with human beings. And that is human beings in the party, human beings outside the party, and across the country. It is, and that is what the Free National Movement now has to face. And I can assure you that this organization is going to face that music. And it may be ugly, it may be loud, but trust me, this organization will repair itself. And we will position ourselves to be ready for the next lap. And don't worry. PLP/Brave/ this administration fatigue will be with us in about 3 to 6 months.
This administration fatigue, you're calling it now? This administration will have fatigue. We'll have fatigue of it in 6 months.
And I wish this administration well, and I say now on public radio that I will participate, assist, cooperate, help in whatever way that I can to help my prime minister and my government to succeed, because this is really about the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Mm-hmm. That said, already there are some signs, some overreaching, and we only need look at national security. And Wayne Monroe is my good friend, as he is yours, but he is treading some dangerous ground right now.
Oh, and I
think the Commissioner of Corrections at BDOCS, if he got a good lawyer, it's a pity he can't get Wayne Monroe to represent him, eh?
He would win that case.
If he had gotten, as I believe he is, I think he has an excellent case before the courts. And I think it's important to understand that this is a civil servant who was exercising his duty.
Doc, this is one hell of a pivot. I'll tell you that. We're gonna come back to that. You're doing one hell
You
of a
going too
pivot.
fast? Okay, I'll step back.
You're doing one hell of a pivot. I don't mind that, I don't mind the pivot, but I want us to pivot and focus on a bit of things before we get to that, because I want to get
all right.
I want to get your thoughts on that as well. But and mind you, I like the audacity of it, right? I like it. That's how we know. I know, I'm talking to a politician, because you did one hell of a pivot there from how the health of the Free National Movement. I want to ask you this before we take a break, right? Are you planning on running for leader? I should ask that last. No, I can save that one. Should I answer that? Answer that.
As long as you don't ask me when, I'm happy to answer that in the affirmative. Okay. So
say that again. Answer it in the affirmative for me. Let me hear it loud and clear, Doc.
We have the X coordinate, we have the Y coordinate, and the Z coordinate is time. So if you ask me the what, I'll answer yes. If you ask me when, I know the answer to that question, but just wait and see.
You hold it into your chest, like a wise man said earlier in the show.
Amen. Amen.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more with Dr. Duane Sands. My questions for you are many, Doc. There are factions, talking about relationships. What is the way forward that you see with the Free National Movement at this point? Dr. Minnis is still there. He's still leader at this point. We know what has been said. What has been said is that he will not run. But how much of impact and influence the culture of Dr. Minnis resides within the party, and has the party, is there a faction that is so big, is a chasm so big that is hard to breach the divide? I'm curious to all of those things. Dr. Duane Sands joining us. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio. We'll be back right after this.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Good afternoon, Bahamas. You're listening to the Guardian News Network. I'm Taylor Ferguson. Here's what's making news. Thank you so much for tuning in. Following nearly 3 years of negotiations, the future of the management deal between Bahamas Power and Light and Shell North America remains in limbo. Works and Utilities Minister Alfred Sears telling reporters today more meetings must be held, but Cabinet still needs more information before a decision can be made on the way forward. In the agreement, Shell North America would purchase BPL's power production facilities and manage the production of power on New Providence, while BPL would be left to manage the transmission and distribution of power.
The urgency of the matter had been put to the Cabinet, I am informed, by the board and Dr. Donovan Moxey. The Cabinet did not grant the approval.
Attorney General Ryan Pinder hitting out at international media, condemning them for publishing and reporting on the Pandora Papers. Those papers exposed offshore havens and the riches of world leaders in millions of leaked documents. The Bahamas is named as one of the 14 jurisdictions in which offshore providers work and ultimately had documents leaked in the papers that have since set off a global firestorm.
But I do condemn the international media organizations for breaching data protection acts of respective countries and jurisdictions in effectively stealing this information. But I do note that in the Pandora Papers, for the first time, I think in any of these public releases, that larger countries have been identified as being culprits, I guess you could say, with respect to these financial matters.
There are more than 500 hirings and promotions under review by the Davis cabinet. That's according to Minister of State for the Public Service, Pia Glover-Roll.
There are a few hundred in the last 6 to 8 weeks. And then prior to that, I want to say that there are even more hundreds that were held up over the years. So it's not only going to be a process of ensuring that the backlog is handled.
That's what's making news. I'm Taylor Ferguson. AP News is coming up next.
This traffic report is brought to you by Shield Insurance and Prudential Loss Adjusters.
In my first afternoon look at traffic, and there appears to be more going on out there than anticipated. Tony's William Darling Highway leading into the roundabout there at the Samalapala intersection. It has a serious buildup of traffic on the west lanes going into that roundabout. Also coming in the north end of that roundabout, coming through the Sports Center, passing Millennium Gardens, you've got hefty traffic in wait lines trying to get in that same circle. Tony's William Darling itself, though, on the east lane, also very busy going into the Blue Hill Road roundabout. Again, hefty traffic line. Once you come off the Bahamar roundabout, prepare to hit the brakes along that route going into Blue Hill Road there because the lineup is there and you're going to have a slow ride into that particular roundabout. Inner city areas got more than afternoon traffic going on. It's quite busy along Wolf Road, the Mackey Street area going through Palmdale, in and about Baintown, the Angleston area. You've got that busy afternoon traffic thing going on. Minor congestion and slows happening at the stop signs and traffic lights. You will have some wait time there because there is a lot of cars on the streets for this afternoon flow. Looking over into the south area, once you're south of Soldier Road, on Blue Hill Road, it's busy going into the Carmichael Road intersection. Not as bad on East Street south of Soldier Road, but it is busy a bit. So you're not going to speed or anything like that. You're going to be within the speed limits over there. You're going to be able to take your time. And of course, West Bay Street, busy. And by that I mean, it's a slow ride along West Bay Street. It doesn't free up until you hit the Sawdust Beach roundabout and get around that. So overall, we've got a busy afternoon of traffic, a few hefty spots, but mostly it's just busy. And that requires some consideration up there to slow down, give way at times, and obey the rules of the road. This National Traffic Report is service of Jess Johnson, the only insurance agents and brokers giving you peace of mind of the Bahamas for over 100 years. Sign up today at JessJohnsonOnline.com. With around the sky, look at traffic in real time. I'm VA.
Michael was in a horrible car accident. Prudential Loss Adjusters managed his claim and got him the settlement he deserved. Sierra's roof received hurricane damage. Thanks to Prudential, she and her kids are happy with their claim settlement. Tammy fractured her ankle in a slip and fall. Prudential saved her time, money, and peace of mind. Prudential Loss Adjusters are here for you whenever a tragedy strikes. Call 322-4026 now.
Don't wait for disaster to strike. This hurricane season, be ready. Protect your home with an affordable and comprehensive home insurance policy from Shield Insurance. You can't control what nature blows your way, but with Shield Insurance, you can rest easy as you ride out the storm. Protect your largest and most valuable investment. Don't take a chance. Put your home in our hands.
Shield Insurance agents and brokers in Nassau. Call 356-7202 or Freeport 352-5945.
Biden stumps. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. President Biden travels to Howell, Michigan to pitch for both the $1 trillion infrastructure bill and his larger plan to rework a variety of safety net, health, and environmental programs.
These bills are not about left versus right, or moderate versus progressive, or anything that pits Americans against one another. These bills are about competitiveness versus complacency. They're about opportunity versus decay. They're about leading the world or continue to let the world pass us by, which is literally happening.
Biden insists that the broader $3.5 trillion package will be paid for through tax increases on the wealthy and large corporations, something Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell says he doesn't believe.
Another reckless taxing and spending spree that would have the government borrow and print trillions upon trillions more.
Polling shows that a large percentage of the public favors many parts of both measures. I'm Tim McGuire.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAO, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
When I had got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. That's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
Attention all students in grade 4 to 12. Do you think you know about money? Well, the Central Bank of the Bahamas is giving you a chance to prove it and win cash in the 2021 Get Money Smart Bahamas Video Essay Competition. Can you tell us why you think the Bahamian economy is an ideal model for digital financial services? If you can, just produce a short video submission before October 22nd and show us you are money smart. Cash prizes will be given in various age categories, but you must get your parents' permission to enter. For more information, visit www.getmoneysmartbahamas.com or see our post on social media.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Don't forget, like, follow, share. We are on Facebook and YouTube. Please like us, follow us, share it, subscribe, all of that good stuff, as it helps to build the show as well. We have a lot of listeners around the world, Bahamians in Norway, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Canada, of course, throughout all of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for the words of encouragement. I have joining me none other than the one and only Dr. Duane Sands. Doc, welcome back. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you very much. And, I haven't congratulated you on the success of your show. And, you claim to be a fan. I'm a big fan of yours, and I think that you keep it real every day. And wishing you a long and successful career in this business of journalism.
Oh, thanks, Doc. That gives you brownie points. You always stay safe. You keep that up. You stay safe. Live to see another day. All right. Well, okay, Doc. Here are one of the major questions that keeps coming up, right? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about, I asked you at the end of that segment, were you planning to run for leadership of the party? You said yes. You said, don't ask when, but definitely a yes on your planning on running for leadership. But let's talk about this as the leadership of the party now. The Free National Movement is no longer the government. The question that has been asked and continues to be asked is, why is Dr. Minnis, after such a resounding defeat, still the leader of the Free National Movement? Now, I would say that is the Free National Movement's business, right? That's my mindset. It's the party people's business. If you guys don't see a reason or, why he should not be, then that's up to the party. That's the minutia. You guys have an understanding. But let me ask you, did you feel as if it was important to move forward and turn the chapter on Dr. Minnis's leadership style? Or are you okay with the way things have progressed as a former member of parliament, as a former cabinet minister, and someone who's looking at the future of leadership in the Free National Movement?
So as you set out the kryptonite and the minefields for me to maneuver politically, let me answer this to the best of my ability. The Free National Movement is not a young or naive organization. It is an organization that has been around, has weathered storms. There are people who have sacrificed much to build this organization, which is an organization that has grown up with what we call a big tent, dissenting views, etc. Understand that the organization is now going through a process where this conversation will be held, preferably in camera, There are people that want Dr. Minnis gone within the organization. There are other people that do not want him gone. And that will play out. Dr. Minnis has said that he wishes to lead the parliamentary caucus until a convention to be held in November of 2021. And that at that point he would not offer for candidacy to lead. Now, that doesn't preclude somebody else from nominating him to lead.
Say that again?
That does not preclude somebody else. So even if Dr. Minnis doesn't put his name in to vie for leadership, that doesn't stop somebody from the floor to say, I nominate Hubert Alexander Minnis for leadership. So
just to make sure.
It is not, what we have to do is, as a party, as an organization, to define the way forward. And that activity has to be an internal activity. I am sure that there are many people on the outside looking in, many of whom are F&M supporters, 40,000 of whom stayed home, we believe, and who have a vested interest in the decisions made by the 400 or so council members that will make the decision. And so as this thing plays out, we need to understand that the fortunes or fate of the Free National Movement is very much dependent on whether we get this right. We have to strive to get it right. We have to be, we got to disagree without being disagreeable. That's an Obama phrase. But we have to respectfully dissect where we are, how we got here, and where we need to go. Do we go left? Do we go right? I don't know where we're going to be. Obviously, I believe in my heart that this organization has demonstrated that it is far better at governing than the current government. Notwithstanding the fact that they are the government, they're gonna need some help.
So hold on, sorry, let me make sure. You said that you believe that the former government will be far better at governing than the present government? That's what you said? No, did I miss that?
Let me say, so that we don't get this wrong.
Okay, please.
That the Free National Movement, in my view, on its worst day, is far better at governance than the Progressive Liberal Party. Now, that's as partisan a statement as I'm going to make all day. Okay.
You don't need to be any more partisan than that. That's big time.
That said, I think Bahamians ain't really hearing that right now. What we want, what Bahamians want, is for the country to thrive, for the economy to recover, for us to get rid of this COVID, get this under control, for our educational system to be appropriate for the needs of our children. And so it is not kumbaya, not cliche to say that we literally all have to put the swords down and get behind this administration and help them to work. No Scud missiles, no torpedoes, no landmines, etc. We have to work together. Okay.
Well, after that statement, though, Doc, I don't know if everyone thinks that was a genuine, we have to work together.
Well,
because if you compare the last administration, what you're saying is, my God, your administration, Doc, is out.
You can walk and chew gum at the same time. I think it's very important for us to understand the strengths, the skill sets of what we have. We have a system of governance that is challenged. But we also have the players in government. And, growing up in a household where I had a father and a brother who were Progressive Liberal Party supporters, and a mother and siblings that are F&M supporters, I learned that this is not a blood sport, okay? That, you know, because I support one political organization, it doesn't mean that the other people are demons or that they are the devil. They have a different approach to governance, okay? So I used to say to my father and to my brother that I think you're politically misguided, okay? Because I support a different organization. I like the approach that they have taken. If we leave it at that, then I think that we can run this country without the pain and suffering that seems to come with transitions, where when one party comes in, this set of people don't eat, this set of people can't go to school, this set of people can't get promoted, etc. But we also need to make sure that each organization is firing on all 8 cylinders. And when the organizations do not perform up to par, then they deserve their political fate. And they do get their political fate, at least.
But do we deserve better, Doc? This is one of the things. If what you're saying, and let me go with what you're saying, and Dr. Duane Sands joining us. If what you're saying, Doc, is that, and I have to repeat this because then it is an indictment on the state of both parties. If what you're saying is that this administration, who has not done anything yet, mind you, we're going to work off of your record, right? But this under this Brave Davis, Philip Davis, let's just go with what you said, that the Free National Movement is a better government, in essence, on its worst day than the PLP on its best day, then we deserve neither of you, based on the history in recent years. Then what you're saying, Doc, is that no matter if you go back, because the Free National Movement the last time made this assertion that we went back, we're going to be transparent. We're not going to be corrupt. We're going to deal with, I remember my prime minister, and I would call him my prime minister, Dr. Minnis in Kalani. I struck my X next to his name. First time I ever voted Free National Movement, okay? I struck my X. I've lived 4 years in regret, but we digress. In that moment, there was a promise. There were many promises. The spy bill was not a part of that promise. Freedom of information was to be enacted fully. That hasn't been done. Fixed election dates. Poor fiscal management, even when you say that there was proper management. All of this, I call it a ruse. I call it all of a sleight of hand, right? What you're saying then, Doc, is that your best is your worst, which I figured you guys could only give me your worst, Doc. You only gave us your worst. I would hope that you could tell me what one best was, because of the 4.5 years, that was not good. And
I think
the PLP and F&M don't deserve our vote ever again.
What I think we are watching is the juxtaposition of a number of things. And I said it earlier. People don't necessarily remember what you've done or what your accomplishments are, but they absolutely remember how you made them feel. Okay, so if we go back to a previous administration that as the roadworks were being commissioned, that people got very, very angry. You know, the inconvenience, the small businesses that were shut down, etc. But the long-term progressive impact of those initiatives, the airport, so on and so forth, have contributed tremendously. No one at this point in time could give 2 cents for the accomplishments of this last administration, which, if you look at what is happening, let's restrict it to downtown. And you're watching the transformation of our downtown area. The Churchill building is now being torn down. You're watching the emergence of what is probably going to be one of the greatest harbors in the Western Hemisphere. You look at the initiatives throughout the family of islands, the developments of bridges, roads, so on and so forth. There were a significant number of things. The digitization of business that catapulted the Bahamas from a 1960s reality to a 21st century.
But Doc, we were still in the lower percentile. We're still one of the worst countries with ease of doing business. We moved up one notch.
I don't think it was only that. What the problem that the Free National Movement government had was when we moved into the era of emergency orders and the creation of this entity called the Competent Authority for the last 21, 22, 23 months. The government kind of took a backseat to that entity, and any semblance of transparency was lost. Even as people watched the world change before its eyes. And so because you had this situation where this is the administration that's there, and I am experiencing this, the tourists are gone, I can't eat, they're putting me out of my house, I can't pay my bills, etc. The belief was, okay, you are responsible for this. And because persons did not feel that some of us cared, that stuck. And it is going to be very difficult moving forward now to have people see what was done in the face of all these challenges. The extension of the emergency orders was a mistake. It was an absolute mistake. It should not.
Dorian, the handling of Dorian, for many was a mistake. The funds, we're still asking questions.
I think I've spoken on the record that we could have done a better job with the handling of the dead from Dorian and the approach, and I think we need to own up to that.
And the handling of the funds. Many are still asking, okay, listen, Super Value donated $100,000 at one point. Okay, there's a lot of things where monies were donated and we're still asking questions. But we opened up a ministry that with $200 million, that was supposed to be some sort of insurance thingy where we got this bank from this loan. And people are still saying, well, why is there lumber sitting in Abaco, and we have domes that never got finished? We've got drones that seemingly were overpriced. Doc, there's a lot more.
No question about it. And I think it's very important to understand the missteps, the mistakes, the inappropriate responses, and all of that forms a part of your record. And yet, if I look across ministries, and if I could point out some of them, in the Ministry of Works, an incredible amount of development took place that revolutionized what was happening in the family violence. Let's give an example. In South Andros and Mangrove Key, after 50 years, these people have finally gotten roads that are passable, bridges that are passable. And people ask, well, oh, you can't eat roads and you can't eat bridges. Well, it now makes it possible for people to move about and to live and to allow those communities to develop. When we look at Cat Island, the addition of potable water for the first time. In Northern Long Island, same thing. These are all infrastructural works that improve the lives of ordinary human beings, but they have been outshined or suppressed because of the negative perceptions of what was going on and how people were being treated. And that is the problem. Those are the headwinds that this Free National Movement will now face.
Yes.
As it re-engineers itself to go back to the public, okay?
And that's why the question is, how in the world, someone as an outsider looking in, trying to figure out, because many believe that Dr. Minnis is planning to, or he does not want to let go the reins of power, right? We understand, we looked out, especially as media, we're looking in, outside in, and saying, this is a lot of power struckness. That's the best terminology I could. And worse than that for many was that there were not many who were standing up to the sovereign or the supreme power. That everyone was just coalescing, as you said, like a Donald Trump era of leadership. And so the question is, can the Bahamian people ever trust that the Free National Movement will do what is right for the Bahamian people in mass and not what is good for the group that is benefiting from whomever, well, Dr. Minnis's leadership?
I think you have answered that question simply by posing that question. And if the Free National Movement doesn't understand the concerns of the general public, as opposed to the views of the 400 or so, then it will be, as I said, relegated to the scrap heap of history. Okay? It is not what you say, but what you do. And so as we move forward, we need to look at how we're going to present ourselves to the public, not with pomp and circumstance, but by a genuine demonstration that A, you own up, you claim what it is that you've done that hurt people, that you acknowledge your missteps in a genuine way, not if I offended you, but to acknowledge that, hey, we did this wrong, that we should have done this better, that we promised this and we didn't deliver it, and we promised that and we didn't deliver it. Okay? Unless we are able to own up to the missteps, the mistakes, the errors of our ways, then we will never regain the government. Okay? I am a part of the Free National Movement by choice. And it would be interesting, I'm sure, and make for great headlines if I were to lay waste to an organization to which I belong. I don't believe that there's a need to do that. We have made some mistakes. We have made some errors. And we have paid the appropriate price for those errors. When you take a cut hip, as we did, that you have paid the appropriate price. Now, what you need to do is to learn from that cut hip and demonstrate that as an organization that you get it and that you're going to make whatever changes are considered palatable to the Bahamian public without losing your soul and without over-promising.
Well, and, just delivering on a few promises. Let me ask you this. Someone says, not mistakes, atrocities, right? Not mistakes, atrocities, right? And others, some people comment, and I want to get to some of these text messages for you, Doc, because we got a lot of them, and I want to make sure I get to some of them. Says, all right, someone says, even though I'm a PRP, I agree with Dr. Sands that the FNM is better at governance than the PRP. I don't know if they were the PRP, but I like that text. Someone says, with all due respect, Doctor, that man's word doesn't mean a hill of beans. He will say anything to try and hold on to the reins of power. Dr. Sands for PM, but the FNM ain't learned nothing. Today, Dr. Minnis is still leader. Today, Dr. Minnis was allowed to choose the senators to represent the FNM. Dr. Minnis will stand in the House after October 6th and speak as the leader of all FNMs. If a Martian came down to Earth, would that look like anyone learned a lesson? That's a good one. Someone says, I have much respect for your guest. It's a real shame he was asked for such a small thing while his replacement was allowed to be so horrible for so long. Can you ask him if former FNMs like myself should ever expect an acknowledgement and apology for the complete refusal to complete the legislation they knew we supported them to complete? Good question.
Again, as we have free time on our hands to retool, I think it's very important for us to both acknowledge the successes that this organization had, free education at the tertiary level and so on and so forth, but also to acknowledge, how we got it wrong in terms of not delivering the things that we said that we would deliver and that people probably voted for, believing that we would deliver it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the manifestos that we put out ought to be a binding contract, or as close to binding as possible. So if you say that I am going to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you end up doing 5% or 10% or 15%, then clearly you overpromised and you had possibly no intention of doing what you said that you would do. And an organization now needs to be very careful, particularly in opposition, to avoid promising the world to an electorate that they want to woo back. So we've got to be very careful.
So it sounded like you guys knew you overpromised and couldn't deliver. Doesn't sound like this. That's what was.
Well, I mean, I think both political parties, but all the political parties, I still want my $100,000. I'm going to talk with the coalition, but my $100,000.
Yeah, but we didn't vote for them, so now you can't get that money. You got to.
Hey, but that was for everybody. So, it is going to be very interesting to see how many of the promises made are going to be kept because of circumstances changing or what have you. And that said, again, the conversation that we're having is primarily about the way forward for the Free National Movement.
Mm-hmm.
And it is an organization, like I said, that has been built through trial and tribulation, that found itself, most people involved in the organization, suffering in material ways because they did not support the other party. And so it is not an organization that's just going to roll over, go in the corner and play dead.
Why weren't you made senator, Doc?
Pardon me?
Why weren't you made senator?
I don't know. I've been a senator twice,
Yeah, I know. I mean, how was the relationship between you and Dr. Minnis?
It's cool. And I use that.
Cool or cold?
I use that word deliberately. It's cool. It's I don't want to go so far as to say frigid, but it's cool. We are not drinking buddies by any stretch of the imagination. I believe that of two individuals in the Free National Movement, that he and I have worked alongside each other in so many different ways over the years that it's hard for people to understand how it is that we are where we are today. So I like to tell the story, or I will tell a story that not too many people have heard. If you ask Dr. Minnis what is the most important thing in his life, most important entity in his life, I think in a moment of quiet reflection, he will say it is the memory of his mother. For the 5 to 7 last years of her life, I was his mother's doctor. And we had a very, very warm and personal relationship. And I was pleased to be able to provide that care to her. And so it is interesting that a relationship that had that level of strength has deteriorated to what it is now. But that is life. And I suspect that we are both probably, and I've said this before, alpha males. And, you know, in a pack, there's only one alpha male, eh? So the second male would obviously have to defer to the other, but defer doesn't mean that you surrender any part of your anatomy that's important. It is out of respect. I think what I try to do is to give respect, because only one person can lead at a time. But that certainly does not diminish what the men and women who surround the alpha male bring to the table. And what the Free National Movement now needs to do is to look at the deep bench that it has, to cast the net very wide, to go back and reclaim the persons that have drifted away from the organization. Brilliant people, strong people, nationalistic people who have chosen to sit it out, because at least for a time, this iteration of their party is not consistent with their views. And I think, if nothing else, this Free National Movement in the period of 2021 to 2025, we're going to go and bring those people home. And if I have anything to do with it, you could take this to your Jesus. We're going to bring those people home.
Dr. Duane Sands joining us on the show. We'll take a quick break. Doc, I want to ask you about COVID-19. And man, how quickly time flies. We'll be back after this. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAL, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
Sugar, sugar, let's get sugary. Softer, smoother, and amazing skin. Oh, sugar, sugar, we're the sugar ladies. Giving you skin soft as a baby's. Goodbye hair, we'll take good care of you.
Come visit us at Bahar Treat Spa on East Bay Street. Contact us at 323-6711 or visit us online at www.baharetreat.com.
When I got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. It's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
And we're back. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Don't forget, if you miss any part of the show, we do have this show. We always stream live on Facebook and YouTube. We also are on Spotify. You can go to the website as well, Guardian Radio. I think it's guardianradio.com. And you can go ahead and listen to the shows. They have them stored there, podcasts as well. Always, you can listen to it live on the Guardian Radio app. And feel free to subscribe, like, share the show online. We've got joining us Dr. Duane Sands. Doc, listen, I'm telling you, people are loving the show, the commentary, and they have ranges of emotion just to just to share that with you. Let's pivot a bit though, Doc, because one of the things that, of course, the former administration left, and with that is transitioning this whole issue of COVID-19. COVID-19, as it stands today, is the vexing problem on the heels of what we considered must have been the most vexing and deadly thing, which was Dorian. To this day, still not resolved. We still have people in trailers. We still have unclaimed bodies, etc. That is a vexing issue that I can't believe that in 2021 we haven't resolved that issue. But now we're living in COVID-19. So folks have not been able to even grieve from Dorian good. The nation hasn't been able to heal. We are at 557 recorded deaths. That means only those who died at hospital. We don't know about those who died at home. We don't know how many people fully, but we only have data that's inside the hospital. I want to ask you, as a former minister of health, as a physician who's dealing with cases today, one, are there any regrets as to how COVID-19 was handled from an administrative side? And then two, what suggestions would you give to the new Minister of Health, if any?
Obviously these are very, very important questions. And let me be very clear that we are still in a very bad place with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And even though the number of cases are decreasing, the number of deaths per capita and actual deaths, it seems as if the Grim Reaper in the Bahamas is trying to get to a new record. And so today we watched another patient die. And we watched others at Doctors West and Princess Margaret die. We realized that the Bahamas per capita has one of the worst death rates from COVID in the world.
That's right.
And that is not changing. As a matter of fact, it is getting worse. We are in a place now where the staff to fight COVID is dwindling. And the soldiers, to quote, I believe, the administrative PMH, are tired. And so even though we're at 27% vaccination now, fully vaccinated, it is nowhere near enough. And I want people to understand that we are not in a good place right now, even though you may think that it can be business as usual. Administratively, I think we have not given our nurses in particular, but our healthcare staff, the level of support that they need. And that support comes in psychological support, emotional support, equipment, supplies, etc., and numbers. So if we thought that we had a nursing problem, in particular in the Bahamas before COVID started, it is far, far, far worse now, particularly in critical care, in intensive care units and so on and so forth. And I can only take my hats off to those nurses who come to work 14, 15, 16 hours a day for weeks at a time to try and save the lives of their fellow Bahamians and visitors and residents. If I could give some recommendations, I think make good on the promise to increase testing. We've had a positivity rate well above 10%.
Yep. Last recording was
17%,
17.
20%.
Mm-hmm.
It clearly shows that we're not testing enough. And I think we are going to have to stop and ask the question, can we centralize care for these COVID patients?
What
Even
does that
at
mean? Quarantining or?
no, I'm talking about acute care. We also need to now, and I'm going to use a metaphor that you may not like, beg for access to monoclonal antibodies for outpatient care for persons who contract COVID. And there's still many, many, many of them that are contracting COVID. And then finally, I think we now need to start the discussion about formalizing the approach to, and I know this can be like blasphemy, mandatory vaccinations. That conversation is going to need to start.
Well, you're definitely right. That's like blasphemy, though.
It is, and I don't think we're there yet, but we need to look at what the triggers are going to be if we expect this economy to stay open. People are gratified that the numbers seem to be trending down, 50, 67, 85, not 120, not 130.
But do you believe that those are real? I'm curious to ask you that because I can't say that I think that the numbers are going down because we're so vaccinated. We know that we're only at 23 to 25% vaccinations. We know we just had a campaign season. Is it the numbers are down for persons showing up at hospital?
The numbers are down because we're not testing enough.
Okay.
Is one reason. What we are seeing in the emergency room and in the hospital is that the number of beds are less full than they had been, but the acuity of illness is worse.
Mm-hmm.
And so to give you an example, I have 2 women in hospital now who have either just delivered or were pregnant at the time that they contracted COVID and were hospitalized. And both of those patients are fighting for their lives right now. At a time when this should be the most joyous occasion for their families and for the children, it is a difficult time. I think the conversation about COVID evolves. And what we talked about last week, last month, last year, if you remember, you and I had a discussion in October of 2020.
That's right.
And people are still talking about that conversation as if it's the last word.
And as if we didn't explain it. Like that was
before anybody had been vaccinated against COVID anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they still say that, Dr. Sands, you raise questions about COVID vaccination. Well, the conversation is evolving. And the next step is going to be a discussion about mandatory vaccination. Let me say it again. We're not there yet, but we need to decide as a country what will be the trigger to have us move to that point so that, people don't think I'm playing games with this discussion. Booster shots are going to be a discussion that we have to decide. Which persons in our community require booster shots and when? And access to these life-saving monoclonal antibodies and oral anti-COVID drugs, topical. Just because we have had 24 months, give or take, or 22 months of COVID in the Bahamas doesn't mean that we know it all, and we're learning every day.
Well, I think we're far from knowing it all. Dr. Duane Sands joining us. Let me ask you, Doc, the question of any regrets on the earlier handling of COVID. I don't think you answered that question for me. Do you wish that you were able to do more as Minister of Health? And when I say more, things that in your mind you would say, if I had the opportunity, if I knew that I wasn't going to remain the Minister of Health, I would have done X, Y, and Z.
would have wished that we had focused more on the educational side of it, to meet people where they are as they are, to have more public conversations, to deal with the fake news and the misinformation and the disinformation that still plagues us, to deal with the ongoing problem of rogue medical staff. And we still have physicians out there that are prescribing medications that have not been documented to be effective, and using approaches to the management of COVID that are, in my view, flat out dangerous.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Doc.
You know, it's, and the way we manage that is a multifaceted approach. It is education and training and information, as opposed to punitive measures.
Let me ask you something, Doc, on that thought, right? And I'm curious as to this. A physician, all physicians, I would gather, based on what we know, all go to school. They all go to school. You all become doctors. You all study. You all practice. There are some who are much better than others. We know that. Just as there are spectrums across the world, there's some who are far better than others. Why is it that, and I mean, I'm curious as to this in the thought process. How is it, or where is the standard that says that some doctors are incorrect with their treatment or rogue versus others are incorrect or correct with their treatment and not rogue? Because, for example, I can tell you personally, and I've told you this before, you know, I was given ivermectin along with something else, and they helped me when I had COVID myself, right? They helped me. I figured they helped, right? Because, you know, I got over it, and someone else didn't. Some people got remdesivir in more severe cases, whereas my own wasn't severe. One physician we know here gave her patient hydroxychloroquine, and it worked. We have Dr. Kevin Bethel, who's doing something different in Grand Bahama, and he is getting great results, but they're not, it's like we're not all on the same page. I'm trying to figure out, Doc, how do we determine what is the correct standard? So
I'm glad that you mentioned ivermectin, because ivermectin is one of those therapies that the jury is still out. We have some weak information or evidence that it may be beneficial, and we have information that it is not. And so at the end of the day, what we can say is that ivermectin ought not be used unless it is in the setting of a clinical trial, which is not to say that it won't be shown to be beneficial, but as of right now, it isn't. So how physicians learn that chemotherapy works or antihypertensives work or that anti-diabetic drugs work is typically on the basis of trials using large amounts of people in a controlled setting, usually with the clinicians blinded, so they don't know what therapy the patient is getting, and compared to an existing therapy. So what we call a randomized, double-blind controlled trial. That is how we accrue evidence, and we have the information peer-reviewed. It is the way medicine is practiced. It is effective and it is safe. When you start going out of that, now you run the risk, whether it's Duane Sands doing it or anybody else, of using anecdotal information that can be dangerous.
Very true. Okay.
And so when you see the results of people showing up in the emergency room having gotten treatment A or treatment B or treatment C, and they are at death's door, at that point, you still have to care for them. You wish that they had not gone down that road. But for many people, the presentation now to the healthcare system is too late, and oftentimes after they have gotten unconventional therapy. Now, People ask, am I a supporter of bush medicine? I am. Do I believe that it could be beneficial? I do. I have been an advocate, particularly in the Bahamas, for the extension of the indigenous medication pharmaceutical listing of drugs like Cerecy and so on and so forth. But when you look at where we are with COVID right now, I don't think that we have the same degree of tolerance for people that are 3, 4, 5 standard deviations outside the norm. And understand that with 6+ billion people that have been vaccinated around the world, that we are no longer in the conversation where we're talking about an experimental therapy.
Yeah, we definitely know people aren't dying in mass like folks want you to believe. It's not killing people. Actually, Doc, one of the statements is that it's 2 years, and then you have a 2-year timeline, and then all hell will break loose in your body.
Yeah, they say, particularly a fellow like me who doesn't get 3 shots, that that I only got a year and I think 6 months left.
Don't speak that on you, child. And if that happens,
I ain't claiming it, and I want to assure the public that have heard the same thing, that there is no way that anybody could come up with that rubbish, and that it is indeed rubbish. And I want to strongly encourage any of you who have not been vaccinated to go out and get vaccinated with the vaccine of your choice that's available. Right now, I think we have Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson.
we don't have, we have Pfizer, Johnson, and AstraZeneca, right? We have AZ.
I don't know how many doses of AstraZeneca we have left for first dose in the Bahamas.
Okay, well, Doc, I want you to know, next week, Tuesday, I'm going to have a show with a Dr. Shankara Chetty, South Africa. He's from South Africa. He has treated over 6,500 COVID patients. And his report, he's been, he's done with the lead researcher in the UK with Dr. McMillan. He claims, and Dr. McMillan has apparently confirmed this, no deaths, no hospitalization, doesn't use oxygen. That's going to be interesting. I want you to tune into that.
I will certainly listen. And this is not to suggest that any of us have a monopoly on the truth or on good medicine. But I think that there are limits beyond which we should go. I'm watching some of your comments, and obviously the public is concerned about making anything mandatory. But in civil society, I think that conversation ought to be had.
Indeed. Dr. Duane Sandstock, thank you so much for the time, as usual. And of course, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much, Doc.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. See you guys tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as I did. Take care.